So we have the Love Better Now Challenge with Our Marriage Rocks, LeBrian and Shanice Cleckley. And we're going to be talking about how to just recommit yourself in your relationship and get some vows that really mean something for now. So everybody takes vows, and the vows that you take in relationship and in marriage are great to have and to hold. What else you got?
Obey.
I said obey.
From the chief.
Sickness and health, yes. My son said sickness and in health.
Sickness and in health.
Yeah, what else?
And for richer, for poor.
I like richer.
Dancing girls or no dancing girls.
That is not one.
Laid off from your job.
That's one.
You've heard them, you've seen them before. They really haven't changed.
Exactly.
And they're very important. And the reason they're important, the reason they haven't changed, because usually the marriage wedding vows, at least the Christian marriage wedding vows, encompass most of what you'll encounter as you go through life. You're going to be sick sometimes. You're going to be well other times. You're going to have wealth at times. You're going to feel not as wealthy at times. But the marriage bond is supposed to endure all of that and remain strong. Again, from the cheap seats. 2 boys, 1 house.
Babies everywhere. Yes, Spencer's in rare form today, rare form. So let's go ahead and get into it. Marriage commitment and your level of commitment. Let's see. What's the best way to say it? What is your level of commitment? Why are you committed? There's a sociologist who I've been following, and I looked at his study, and I really like the way he says it. His name is Dr. Michael Johnson. He is of Penn State University. And this sociologist says there are 3 levels to commitment that you have. There's a personal commitment, there's a moral commitment, and there's a structural commitment. And we're going to go over some of them. And you'll see that some sound morally better than others. Not even morally, some sound a little bit better than others. Let's just put it that way. And if you go in and looking at it from a different perspective, you're like, oh, that commitment is a little bit more virtuous. Commitment is on several levels. You have to have the 3 different forms in order to make sure that it stays, and when you're committed to anything, but especially in marriage. So first you have personal commitment. Personal commitment that you have is when you say, I want to, that you have personal stake in it. So this kind of thing is, I take pleasure in being married. I want to be married. I love my spouse. I enjoy being committed to my spouse. So that's the first level that you have. What's the second?
The next level was the moral commitment. And that's something many times that I think a lot of men might feel. I'm married and I ought to stay married. I'm going to stay married because it's the right thing to do. I'm going to keep my marriage vows because it's a commitment I made before God and in front of God and the preacher and my mom and everybody else. I'm going to stay married because my parents stayed married, and that's the right thing to do. So again, it's moral. It's something that you feel within your character and your code. And like I said, that's I think from a very male perspective, which is why many times if you see men get divorced, it hits them very hard. It goes to your core because you feel like you've let something down in your moral code. There's something about your moral code that wasn't able to keep your marriage together.
And the third level of commitment is called structural commitment. I have to. While this doesn't sound to be very, the word I used before is virtuous, it is something that it is. I have to stay married because I can't afford the negative consequences. I have to stay married because of the kids and what divorce would do for my children. I have to stay married because we have social relationships, and what's going to happen if I get divorced or if I don't stay with this person and all of a sudden I don't have anybody to be a part of. So structural commitment is something that on the level of your life, structurally, it needs to stay in place. When you add all 3 together, personal, moral, and structural commitment, those things encompass a full circle on so many different levels that when you put them together, it makes you stay committed longer. While I want to marry my husband, I want to be committed to my husband, I ought to because I took that vow and I'm going to keep my covenant. And structurally, I don't want to because it is detrimental to our children. And I don't want our children to go through it again. We've been through a divorce. So that's not something that's an option. Divorce is not an option. So I've committed to trying and doing the best that I can in order to stay and be the best wife that I can. So there are a few things that we're going to go over in order to strengthen the commitment to your relationship.
Monique, the first thing that you need to do when you talk about strengthening your commitment or renewing your commitment or even establishing your commitment is to pray. And we'll tell you that's the first thing you should do in all things here on earth. If there's any undertaking that you're about to begin, if there's any journey, if there's a decision you need to make, if there's a commitment you need to establish, pray. Seek God's guidance. The commitment levels are fine and they're very worthy and they need to happen. But if you don't pray about it and seek godly guidance first, you may be seeking establishing a commitment with somebody that God never intended. I have children. So again, number one is pray and seek God's guidance. The second thing you want to do is you'll want to focus on the things that are positive. The positive aspects of your marriage, the positive aspects of your relationship, if you're in a relationship and thinking about getting married.
Because focusing on the negative will make you negative. I mean, let's just really put it that way. Focusing on the negative, you will always think of those things. So, and we even have to be very conscious of when we're talking to people about our relationships to others, when we're talking about our marriages, and we say things like, well, how's your wife? Do you like being married? Man, it's hard. Really? If it's that hard, which it is hard, do you think someone else wants to get married if you're speaking negatively about it? There's a reason why you are married. So why don't you let that other person know, because you're gleaning into their life about relationships? Speak
life into your marriage. Speak life into your spouse. It's a lesson I learned from an old head, from a veteran in marriage. We were at a catering event and I was talking to a gentleman and he was telling me, he asked me while I was there, he was a caterer as well. So, my old lady has a catering business. She said, your old lady? He said, what is your mama? I said, no, that's my wife, dude. He said, well, why don't you call your wife your old lady? That's a part of you. That's something that you chose. There are not very many shotgun weddings anymore. So, I chose that. So he said, why not speak positive about it? Why not speak positivity into your marriage? Why not actively take a positive role in things that happen in your marriage? What's the worst that can happen? It could be positive.
Exactly. Do actions and say words to show your spouse that you're dedicated to them. I try to consistently tell LeBrian how much I love him and the fact that I'm not going anywhere. He knows we're not going anywhere, and I don't do it in an argument, but he knows I'm not going anywhere. Get surrounded by a tribe of people who have the same values of marriage that you have. So let them lend you support. Let them be there for you. When you're around people who are positive, you'll be positive. When you're around folks who say we're going to stay married, you'll feel more inclined to stay married because you're around that positive energy and those people who support you.
And be open about who that tribe is going to be. You can look at your family and try to include them in your family, but be frank and be honest. If you don't see a lot of positive marriages in your immediate family, then you may need to extend your tribe. You may have to talk to some coworkers. You may have to talk to a church member or somebody that you've met somewhere that has a marriage that, at least to you, appears to be something that you can model after. So be open and be understanding that even though your tribe may not look, you may not look like everyone in your tribe. All of you have the same goals and the same desires, and that's what makes a good family, a good tribal unit.
Exactly. Be public with your love, and set only. And when you're public with your love, you set accountability, and write a vision about it and make it plain. So, funny story, because I went out of town and I didn't even tell my girlfriends, or they knew I was out of town. And my best friend told me. She called me on the phone and she said, girl, I just saw Brian at the Sphinx getting some chicken. So how about you call him and let him know that people see him. He wasn't doing nothing.
I was getting chicken.
He was getting chicken.
I like fried chicken.
But I found it hilarious, though, that she called to tell me because she just wanted him to know, hey, I'm looking out because my girl is going out of town.
If she was really looking out for her girl, she would have gave me some chicken.
No,
she would have had some chicken already for me.
No.
She was really looking out for somebody.
That's not true because she also knows that no woman other than your mama need to make you chicken.
But accountability is the issue. When you're public and you let people know that you're married, and for some reason you're somewhere not with your spouse, those people will ask about your spouse. They feel very comfortable approaching you. They feel very comfortable approaching me anyway. And they'll say, hey, where's Shanice? They don't even know my name. Where's Shanice?
You Shanice's husband.
You Shanice's husband. Where's she at?
You Brian's
What's she do? Ain't you Shanice's husband?
Now go to his side. You Brian's wife,
Don't
right?
nobody say that.
Yes, they
nobody
do.
said you Brian wife.
Yes,
They say
they
you Shanice's husband. And it keeps you from doing a lot. If you're thinking about doing something, you Shanice's husband. So let me go and put my keys back in my pocket and going outside because I'm not going over here where there's trouble.
Hush now. Okay, next is set goals that both of you can acquire in the marriage and do them together. So actually come up with a bucket list, and we have some things on our website that talks about this, but have at www.ourmarriagerocks.com. So there's a bucket list. Pick out something that you can do together that you love. And when you guys are committed to a goal and something with recreation or whatever kind of goal it is, buy a house, we're going to get a car, we're going to go zip lining, we're going to do a dinner every month, whatever it is, come up with that goal together and commit with it together. And then that way you are doing it at the same time. And then it just makes it stronger. It makes your bond stronger. So,
and I'll say this. From a man's perspective, it's going to require some energy. And I know that's funny coming from me because I appear to have a very low energy level, but I'm not. I'm very excited all the time. However,
yeah,
that last one about setting goals together, that is going to require you to talk to your wife. That is going to require you to tell her things that you want to do, even if you think your wife doesn't necessarily want to do them, or even if she said, "Well, I don't want to go zip lining."
I do.
Or whatever the case may be, give those goals. Wives or spouses on the other side, when you hear your husband's goal, consider it. Husbands, when you hear your wife's goal, consider it. Now,
because sometimes it's going to be something you don't want to do, but you're showing dedication and you're showing that you have their feelings. Excuse me.
Oh, it's just boys.
Okay. You're showing consideration. So that's a good thing. So let's go over what we discussed today. We talked about commitment, and commitment being on three facets, where they are structural, moral, and personal, and that you must have all three in order to make sure that your commitment level is evolving. Commit openly to your spouse and do it in public. Make sure you surround yourself with a tribe of people. Set goals together. Do some actions together that will say, let your spouse know how much you love them and that you're dedicated to them. Focus on the positive aspect of the relationships and of marriage and optimism. And above all else, pray and seek God's guidance. Pray and seek God's guidance.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I don't want you to think that these three characteristics of commitment happen independently of each other. They're mutually exclusive of one another. If you're married right now and you're thinking, you heard these things and you said, you know what, I really think that I'm at the structural point of commitment. I'm in this marriage because I have to be. I can't afford to go anywhere else. And maybe you heard the other two, and frankly, the structural commitment, it just doesn't sound as sexy as the personal commitment. It doesn't sound as flowery or look as good on a Hallmark card as it. Why are you married? Because I can't afford not to be married. If that's your truth, that's your truth. But understand that doesn't always have to be your truth. You're going to be married a long time. And I promise you, at one point or another, you're going to be at different stages of this commitment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll be at all three, and that's wonderful. Sometimes you'll just be at one, and that's okay too. Always go back to those things, those things that you can do to strengthen that commitment. Always go back and pray about it, and then focus on what's positive about it. Even if you say, "Well, I'm only here because I can't afford to go anywhere else." Well, you know what? Let's look at the positives of that. being here allows me the opportunity to be able to afford to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to speak life into this situation. I'm married because my husband provides a good foundation and a good home. My wife provides a good base for my family and for my kids. Speak life about those things. Do all those actions. We're going to send them to you in the email, and they'll be on our website. Do those things no matter where you are in your commitment level. And I promise you, again, as time goes on, as your relationship endures and it grows, you'll find yourself floating amongst them all, and it'll be okay. Wherever you are, that's your truth.
Mm-hmm.
But work to make it strong.
That's right. So for your homework tonight, that was me. So for your homework tonight, you have a few things that you need to do. They are in your Love Better Now emails that will be coming out right after the broadcast. If you have not signed up for your emails, go to www.lovebetternowchallenge.com. Sign up. You'll get an email confirmation back and be added to our email list. And we'll make sure that you have everything in there. So your assignment tonight is write your vows to your spouse that solidifies their need as you know them now. For instance, if I were to write some vows to LeBrian, I would say, I vow to give you time to process a decision or answer without prejudice. And so if I wanted Brian to write one about me, hopefully he would say, I promise to love you unconditionally.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. It's like you're living in my head.
Thank you. So that's number one. You have to write vows to your spouse of what you commit to them for their needs that they have right now. So what that does is that requires you to go back to your conversation of assignment you had yesterday, where you talked for them for 30 minutes to an hour, where he or she told you how you can help them be a better spouse. Okay? So it all goes together. See how it goes together? Go back together, and it'll help you go through it. So number 2 homework for tomorrow is write your vows as a couple. So as a couple, come together and write a vision for your plan, for your marriage, for your future, and how you want the world to see your marriage. For instance, we have written them several times, and one that we have is, we vow to love each other completely and honestly, that our children will want to be in committed relationships. We vow to always build each other's personal goals as it benefits us as a couple. So those are some things as a couple that we want the world to see, as well as we commit to each other that we do collectively. And then don't forget to write your public post of, I am fully committed and faithful to loving my husband or wife for life. Divorce is not an option. Day 3 of the Love Better Now Challenge. So that is what we have going on for today about commitment and being committed. And if you have any questions, you can always find us here on Facebook on OurMarriageRocks.com, on Twitter, Our Marriage Rock with no S, and on Instagram and Our Marriage Rocks
with an S.
With an S. You can go to our website, which is www.OurMarriageRocks.com, and send us an email or give us a call, and we would love to help you with personal coaching, group coaching, or group sessions. And look for our latest events that's going to be coming up. So we'll see you tomorrow for day 4. Got 2 more days of the Love Better Now Challenge. And I hope this is blessing you and getting you ready to love your spouse better. See you guys tomorrow.
Love, peace, and soul.
Oh my God, really? Bye. Thanks.